Hello, my name is Disciple. So sorry about the bad lighting. Just wanted to do a quick video. I wanted to call this video the equation of life because obviously I've been doing a lot of research over the years. Apart from obviously training muscles and stuff, I'm also interested in training the mind and the soul. I'm interested in having total balance in life. Yeah. So obviously over my years of research, I'm not gonna say I know everything. But what I will say is that I've come up with a very good skeleton or foundation for what I quite like to call the equation of life. Okay, so the way in which I find it's best to explain about when you're going to start talking about life is to do it in a story format. 'Cause I'm also a writer. I write scripts of films. I write novels, and that I'm going to be releasing soon. So I always think the way in which we should go about investigating life is to investigate it like a mystery, like a story. So just like if you had a case, a criminal case, you want to find out all the details, you want to find out all the characters involved, and ultimately you want to find out what a scenario, or base a scenario on facts, on gathering as much evidence to come up with a scenario and a purpose and a motive for whatever the action that was taken was. So obviously, if we're looking at life, we want to find out what the motive for the action of life is. Like why, in a nutshell, why is life here? That's what you want to find out. Okay. So there's 1 minute. I've got my notepad with me. So first of all, when we're getting into this topic, I know it's a very sensitive topic for many people. Obviously, I've researched into science, different philosophies, religions, ancient mystery religions as well. I'm not afraid to dig in deep and go into places where some people are afraid to go, and to ask questions people don't want to ask. I'm not afraid of that. I'm willing to go right into the deep end just to find the truth. That's what I'm interested in, the truth. And not to say that I don't completely know it all right now, but I do have a very good foundation which I'm going to share with you guys. Obviously, feel free to answer a question. If you think that what I'm saying is wrong, then obviously just feel free to show me the right way. That's what I'm here for. We're all on a journey together. That's what it's all about. Okay. So first of all, we're going to be splitting into 3 videos. I'm going to split the whole story of life. We're going to split it into the origin, which is obviously the beginning, the continuum, which is the middle, and beyond eternity, which is obviously the end, so to speak. Yeah, but rather not the end, but just the continuation, the end of this chapter, if you like. That's the way I like to put it. Okay, the end of the temporal into the eternal. Okay, so we're gonna begin on that. So on that note, we're gonna begin with the origin of life. Okay, and obviously, first of all, before we even start this, just like when you're looking at a criminal court case or when you're looking at evidence for anything, there's only 2 accounts on which you can validate as absolute truth. Okay, so in the case of a court case, it's got to be eyewitness, yeah, or it's got to be an actual fact, like a scientific fact. So going on that, there's only 2 ways in which we can validate absolute truth like this. One is mathematics. Yeah, the reason why mathematics, because mathematics is an absolute formula of all things, of all life. Okay, so mathematics creates the computer. Without perfect mathematics, the system wouldn't work; it would fail. Okay, without mathematics creates architecture, all things in existence that we need and use. Even life itself is based on mathematics. How you can prove that? Just look at science. If the Earth was even fractions of millimeters off from the distance from the sun, the Earth would either freeze or would either burn. So obviously, mathematically, it's perfect. It's in a perfect equation in order to operate properly. Okay, if our bodies didn't have a perfect equation of balance between water and all these other chemicals, like oxygen, all these other chemicals, the human body wouldn't function. So mathematically, it has to be correct. So we know 100% true. Maths is something that we can rely on. Okay. So anything that we're trying to argue, we can always fall back on maths to validate what we're saying. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's number 1. Number 2 is experience. Okay, so just like we said, the eyewitness account. Okay, so experience is the only other 100% absolute truth that you can rely on. If you experience something, you know it's true. No one can ever tell you it's not true when you saw it firsthand and you experienced it firsthand. Okay, so hence why history is sort of a is sort of a way to validate things, but obviously only really and true first-hand experiences, the only real and true absolute experience. So we're going to try our best to obviously base everything upon those things. Okay. So alright, so let's begin. So from that, using those two as our guidelines, we're going to investigate this life of this story of life. Okay. We're going to get into it. Alright, so let's get into it now. So first of all, we have to start from the origin. We have to look at the beginning of things. Alright, so you can either come from one or two standpoints, whether you're religious, whether you're scientific man, or whatever you believe in. Like, you've got to come from either one or two standpoints. It's either you believe that life is the product of creation, or you believe that life is a product of like nature or chance. You believe life is a product of just it had to be, so it may, so it was. So basically, either you believe in intelligent design, or a more like a radical, maybe just survival of the fittest kind of naturist design, or just basically you either believe that life has always existed, or you believe that life has a beginning. So at one point it wasn't life, and then life came into existence and it's been growing ever since. Okay, so let's look at that from the experience standpoint. So everyday experience, what would that tell you? It's just, well, basically, I know from just using my common sense, the everyday experience tells me that there's nothing that comes into existence without being premeditated, without somebody sitting down there and actually thinking about ways of how they're going to create something. If you're looking at business in all walks of life, you're looking at relationships, you're looking at the building of things, you're looking at even an action such as giving someone a kiss or walking down the stairs. You've got to think of it first, and nothing is done without nothing is done by accident. Rarely do we have real accidents. That's quite rare. And so when we're dealing with the story of life, so when we're looking in mysteries, when you're trying to deduce things, the first thing that goes out of their head is that you're not even allowed to think. I remember watching the Dark Knight when he said to the guy, you're not allowed to believe in coincidences, because believing in coincidences is, quite frankly, not very analytical. An analytical and smart mind is not just gonna put everything out as a coincidence. You're gonna look at, is there something behind this? And more likely than not, there is something behind everything. Okay. Sometimes there is genuine coincidences, but when we're dealing with the whole story of life, you can be sure that there isn't really going to be a coincidence. Okay, so experience kind of talks against the whole miraculous life thing coming out of nothing. So then we can look at maths. Okay, so when you got maths, you got your basic formula. Okay, your basic life equation formula. Okay, so here also I'll put mathematics and experience. Yeah, so you got here, if you're going to obtain with the notion of abiogenesis, okay, which is meaning life creating on its own without, or basically life starting from nothing. So you've got the number 0. Get a calculator, whatever you have to do, use your fingers. If you've got 0, which means you've got no fingers, how are you going to get fingers? If there's no fingers, how are you going to get fingers? So you get the number 0, plus it or times it with any number. If it's 3, it's always going to be 0. Okay, so using that basic formula, yeah, just basic level mathematics, will prove to you that life cannot have an abiogenesis. Like, life has to have always existed in order for life to exist, because nothing cannot bring something. It's that simple. You can stare in the empty space and room for as long as you want, and nothing's ever going to happen. It's that simple. So we can get rid of the idea that nothing created life. Okay, so now we have to look at, okay, so if life has always existed, and we know that life has to have always existed, and also eternal life must exist. How would we know eternal life must exist? Because if life wasn't eternal, if life was there from the beginning and then somehow was able to die or become no life would be able to come again, because zero cannot be nothing. If we can ever go back to zero, it can never come back again, because zero cannot create anything. So we know that where the origin of life is also eternal life. So we know that there is an eternal life that is a product that is responsible for the rest of life. It's just it's mathematically and my experience, we all know it to be true. Okay, you can try and argue this point all day long, but there's no other explanation. You cannot explain it because mathematically it is impossible for there not to be an actual eternal creator. Okay, so then the answer becomes not okay if there is a eternal creator. It's who it is, what does it want, and what does it want of us? What is our purpose in this? This is what ultimately we're here to find out. We want to find out why we're here, what we're doing here. Why all this killing, why all this death and suffering? We need to find out all these things. What's the answers behind it? Okay, so I'm gonna go straight to the point. Okay, so through my years of research, I've been very skeptical, very analytical. My beliefs have changed so many times, and they might even change again. But one thing I do know for certain is that whoever this eternal creator is must have the attributes of all the greatest things that exist. So all the things that are pure. Okay, so all the greatest notions that exist must be of the creator, otherwise they couldn't exist. Okay, as we just explained, that nothing can create something. So the creator itself must be of an absolute perfection. Okay, in order for it to work. Okay, so this is a fact that most people know. This is what a lot of people have a problem with, because then they're like, oh, why is there so much bad stuff happening in the world if the creator is so perfect and blah blah blah. But we get to that. We get to that. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is actually come up with an equation for the creator itself. Okay, so in order to break down the creator, we know that. But first of all, if I ask you the question, what is the most powerful thing in the universe? Okay, what's the most powerful thing that conquers all? Even an animal knows this. Yeah, and that's love. I'll answer the question for you. It's love. Love conquers all, 100%. That is a fact. Okay. So when we're looking at the creator, I can later on we'll validate all this. But when we're looking at the creator, we know that the creator has got three parts to it. Okay. So we've got love. Right? We've got good, so perfectness, like holiness. Okay. And we've got life, so eternal life. Okay. All three things combine and personify to make the creator. Okay, so obviously another way how we can validate this with experience is that we know that every single thing begins first in the visible world. What exists in the physical world we see is a personification or product of the invisible. So say for example, whatever you think first, you're gonna do. So whatever you think, imagine in your mind, you're gonna create into the physical world. Okay, so creation begins first in the spiritual or the psychological, and then comes into the physical. Okay, that's the nature of things. We know that by experience. Okay, it's hard to prove that mathematically, but you can really, because every single thing that we create, whether it's a computer, whether it was, somebody's had to think up this idea first. Otherwise, it couldn't have came into existence. No one just miraculously just suddenly started creating computers. Okay, so we do know that, so that is a fact. Alright, so so we know then that the creator, the eternal creator, is got three parts to him. And actually it's an equation. It's just like math. So we have love plus good or holiness equals life, eternal life. Okay. So first of all, before we get into why life is created, and also then the universe and stuff like that, we're going to look at these three different types of love. Okay, and which type of love that we're talking about. Okay, because we've got Number one, an immature kind of love, like conditional love, like the love that children have. So they love you when you do things for them, or they love you more if you give them sweets, for example. Yeah. And so that's a conditional love, and that's actually quite a dangerous love if it's in the mind of an adult, which we'll come to in another video. Okay, then you have number two, 50-50 love, which is the type of love that you experience in most cases in couples or marriages, romance. So that's 50-50 love. And then the third type of love is unconditional love. This is the love that we're talking about. This is eternal love. This is the love of the Creator. It's a love that's selfless, self-sacrificing. Means you give out of love and without no wanting anything in return. You just do it because you love. That is the type of love that we're talking about. Okay, and that's very important in the whole scheme of life. Okay? And if you want to argue against that, then I don't know what argument you can bring against love being the absolute center of life. It is the center of life. If someone lives without love, they're going to be very, very unhappy, very, very unhappy person. Yeah, you put love into their life and everything changes. You could be poor on the streets, and you have love in your life, and I bet you that guy feels like a millionaire, guaranteed. Yeah, anyone who knows, they'll know from experience. Okay, so let's now look at the universe, yeah, and what we're living in life, the creation of life. Yeah? So then we've got, the Big Bang. The Big Bang theory is correct. Okay, you might be surprised to hear me say that, but it is. And obviously this actually directly matches up, because as we said before, the physical personifies the spiritual. Okay, and the physical universe is constantly expanding from a single point, which is obviously created by the Creator. So the physical life is expanding. Okay, that's what the Big Bang theory is all about: expansion of life continuing, but also life itself is expanding and continuing forever. Which, in other words, you can say is being created. Life itself is being created forever and continuing and expanding. Okay, then you say, why create life? Because if you see the three factors of the Creator, then in order to experience and expand or express love, you need to create. Because creation is an expansion of love and life. Okay, so that's why the creation begins. Okay, so that's, if you want to argue against that, you can as well, but that is what makes totally the most sense. If you want to answer, give questions to it, we get into that. Okay, so so creation is an expansion of love and life. Okay, so here's the thing now that the Creator is obviously creating life to love, creating life out of love, for love, to love. Okay, so the ultimate goal of the creation is for the creations to experience unconditional love, because unconditional love is the highest form of life. Okay, that is life to its full. That is eternal life. Life like the Creator is living it. So it all makes sense. It all comes around full circle. So life is created for us unconditionally, just because the Creator wants us to experience unconditional love, which is the greatest, highest form of life. Okay, which all comes into existence. But in order to get to that unconditional love, you have to be what? Holy, good. You have to fit in the equation. You can't come with some next stuff and think that you're gonna obtain love. It's not gonna happen. Okay? You need the whole equation for it to work, just like mathematics. Okay, you need the whole equation in order for it to work. Alright? But then here's where the question comes in. Okay, so if this perfect creation is created out of love and it sounds all nice and dreamy, sounds all utopia and a bit heavenly, okay, why do we have evil, killings, death, the most atrocity you can imagine we've got in this world? Everything you can think of, from paedophilia to sacrificing and all these kind of crazy stuff is going on in the world today. Okay, so how do we come to that conclusion? Okay, because in a nutshell, this is so in a nutshell. In the process of creation, okay, in order for the goal, remember now, is for us to experience unconditional true love, the eternal love, okay, get an eternal life, okay, and experiencing true love, okay. In order to experience true love, you have to have something that only us as humans over all other beings have, which is free will, okay. So other animals or plant life, they're alive, but they're not free thinking, choosing and acting. That power is something that only the eternal creator had from the beginning, because he is unconditional love. Like the creator is unconditional love and created and loves out of choice, because unconditional love is out of choice, it's selfless, it's choosing to give without wanting anything back, yeah? And that has to be done out of choice. So therefore, free will is the only way to experience unconditional love. Okay, you have to be able to choose love. Like, by all means, the creator could have made us some robots, but then we wouldn't be experiencing unconditional love, and then no one would ever be able to experience it, and that would defeat the whole purpose of creation. Okay, so therefore, free will is basically where is the salvation is also the problem, because obviously, imagine now, you want everybody to have experience unconditional love, and you have to be able to experience it. You want everyone to choose it out of free will, so you can't force you to do it. You have to choose it out of free will. But therefore, because you now have choice, you can now choose to love, choose to pursue love, or choose to do totally different things. Choose to pursue the other forms of love, the 50-50 love, or the conditional love, so a more self-fulfilling love, so more something out for yourself, so selfishness. Okay, you can go for that instead. Okay, and obviously that's why we're going to see how later on in another video how that's destructive. Okay, so you're going to see that is the breeding ground. So free will, where it is the only way to obtain unconditional love, it's also the breeding ground, the reason why we live in a universe of opposites, because as we know, the original form of life, which is the eternal creator, is holy and good, is love, and is eternal life. But when we have put free will into the mix, okay, which is needed in order to obtain unconditional love, you now are able to choose the opposites, opposed. You're able to create things opposed to what the eternal creator is. So opposing to holiness and goodness, there's obviously going to be evil. Okay, evil, suffering, pain. That's going to be opposed to it. Opposing to love is going to be fear. Okay, fear, hatred. Those are things that are opposed to love. And obviously, opposed to life is death. So therefore, you'd have another formula, which is totally. Imagine that's like the formula of life. Then obviously you've also got a formula of death, where you've got evil, fear, or you've also got fear leading to evil, or hatred and leading to evil, which is also going to lead to death and destruction. So you've got the opposites, which is inevitably going to be able to be formed, because in order for you to experience the fullness of creation, you have to have free will. So from the beginning, you see there's an enormous task that the eternal creator has in order to give his children, or give his creations, the chance of unconditional love. You have to go through the choice. You have to be able to choose, just like he did. He could choose. He could have chosen. He could not be these things. If the eternal creator was not holy, good, and love and light, and was all about himself, then we would be in a very bad position right now. I'm telling you, it could be a lot worse than it is. I can guarantee you that. We'd all be slaves right now. Just bowing down to him. It's like, why did you create us? For you to be my slave. That's what you're here for. Yeah, but no. But thankfully, I've done years of research, and I know that that's not what the eternal creator wants. Okay? So, so moving on. So from the next video, we're going to go into the continuum and look into history a bit more into science. That's just the origin. So we're just getting into So we got to the basics of who the eternal creator is. So we know the eternal creator is. If we don't know exactly as a person, we'll get into that. But obviously, we know like what he is and what he's about. His nature, basically, the nature of the eternal creator. Okay, and the nature of creation itself and life and the purpose for it. Okay, so we've got into that. So that's and we've opened up for free will being the reason why we can have opposites, and reason why when people want to talk about why there's evil and death in the world, and this is the reason why. Okay, and it is there for us to be able to choose against it. Yeah, because also you've got the power to be able to choose against it. You're given that power. You're given that power of free will. That's the greatest power you can have. Okay, the greatest power you can have. And then we're gonna go into it a bit further. And we're gonna look into the isolating, like who fits the bill, who represents this eternal creator to the max. And if you want to try and bring me any alternative to, oh, this is not the nature of the creator is not this and something like that, you can bring that to me and we'll talk. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for debate. I'm here for truth. Alright? Disciple. Bless for everyone. I hope everyone's that finds the truth. Because when you start finding truth, I can guarantee you start feeling a lot different. Your mind opens up. You start not thinking and worrying about things like bills and all these kind of foolishness and this person said this and this person done that. You're not worried about those kind of things anymore. You're worried about the bigger things in life. And that's what I want for most people. I want for everybody to have that. Be able to think big. You can see the big picture and look down upon small things like, oh no, we can get over that easily. It's nothing. No sweat for us. Yeah? That's what we want. Got any questions, any queries, then honestly, we'll feel free to ask. Alright, peace.